Thank you very much, Senator Clone. Jeff, as well, thank you for your input and just for both of you, your thought-provoking, thought-inspiring, idea-inspiring words. I'm sure everybody here will have plenty to take away from all of that, but we're joined by 3 of our members to let us know what they've taken away from what you've heard today, and maybe to speak as well, folks, about your own experiences of connection, either your experience of, I suppose, how your experience of muscular dystrophy, of disability, of your experience of connections in relation to that, or perhaps your experience of connections with MDI and the organization itself, whichever you'd like to speak about. Yep. We might start down at the end with David, if you'd like to just introduce yourself and maybe either give comment or if you have a question for Jeff or Tom.
Yep, so hi everyone, I'm Dave Kennedy. I'm a member of the Advocacy Committee in MDI. I was diagnosed with FSH, muscular dystrophy, 3 years ago. And just on the topic that Jeff discussed around isolation. So I clearly remember 3 years ago, met Dr. Lefter in Beaumont Hospital. She got the bloods back to officially give me my diagnosis. So she went through, the bloods came back, you have FSH, number of tests you're going to be sent on, scans, etc. So leaving the office, it was in the public in Beaumont Hospital, leaving the office into the waiting area, and I clearly remember blowing my cheeks out, thinking, I'm on my own here. Obviously, there was a lot of tests being sent for, and I was going to get physio treatment, etc. But I clearly remember blowing out my cheeks, saying, "Okay, I'm on my own." And then Dr. Lefter came out and called me and said, "There's a lady here that I'd like to introduce you to. She's with MDI, Muscular Dystrophy Ireland. Never heard of them." So went in, met Sinead. Felt like half the day talking to her, but it was probably closer to an hour.
That was a good thing, though.
Oh, that was a massive thing.
Yeah.
Because, that was huge. Because I literally was deflated leaving there. Now, in any crisis situation, I try to look at opportunity. But I clearly remember that time walking into the waiting area and saying, "Okay, I'm on my own." Met Sinead, chatted to her for ages, signed up to be a member of MDI. And then I left there with a kind of a pep in my step. And MDI have been very supportive to me over the last 3 years. The company I worked for them there 20 years, they've been very supportive. So I think it's very important when you do have this diagnosis that you do meet somebody very early and you find out that you're not alone and there is supports and services. And that's just my story. I just found it huge to meet somebody very early at the very start of my diagnosis. And I think that's critical for everyone that has similar diagnosis.
Thanks very much, David. Andrew, then, if you'd like to.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks, Tom. That were brilliant speeches. I really enjoyed them. My name is Andrew. I have Charcot-Marie tooth, better known as CMT. I'm on the Advocacy Committee for MDI, and I've been a member for over 20 years. I'm a trainee psychotherapist, and I don't really have a question for the guys, but more of a reflection on the topic of isolation. I'm actually submitting a paper tomorrow on my course for isolation, so the timing is very interesting. But yeah, the whole topic of isolation is just a very interesting one, and it can be sometimes viewed as a negative, but in my case, of course, it was a difficult time, but what came out the other side was very positive. So the diagnosis of CMT obviously came up in the medical realm, and upon diagnosis, I wonder, was I given an identity of a disabled boy, and then as I grew older, a disabled man? And as a teenager, that didn't really affect me, but as I got older, it was, I'm a disabled man. How does society view a disabled man? What is the picture of that? and that's who I was, you know. And that left me very isolated, like really isolated actually. My world didn't look like isolation. I had loving family and friends, but it was just very isolated that my identity was given to me and I'm on my own with this. So, yeah, like I said, that was a difficult time, but it brought me to grapple with the concept of isolation and came up with a thought of, you know, yeah, I am isolated, but in fact, we're all isolated with who we are, with what we are in life. And when I explored that and worked through that, it was actually very freeing and liberating experience. And, you know, it allowed me to shake free the identity of a disabled man, and I discovered who I was, you know. CMT, instead of all encompassing who I was, it just became a part of me, you know. So that was the other side of isolation. Yeah, like I said, it became a positive thing. It was a difficult time, but after exploring it and processing it and working with it, it was a liberating experience, freeing experience, and yeah, it led me to improve my connections with everyone around me. My connections became deeper, my relationships became more meaningful, and it was just because I was able to show up in the world of as who I really was, rather than a disabled man.
Good stuff.
So yeah.
Sara.
Yeah, so hi everybody. My name is Sara. I'm a mum of 5. So one of my sons was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy back in November 2017. He was only 6 years old at the time. So Kyle is now 14, and like you, obviously Kyle was very young when he was diagnosed. We shied him away from his illness. We didn't tell him. So he knew there was something wrong. He knew he was different to his brothers and sisters because he couldn't keep up, but obviously we didn't explain it. So the isolation came for myself and his dad as parents. So upon diagnosis, you feel you've got worries, you've got fears, you're sad, you're grieving for a life you thought your child was going to have that they're now not going to have. And at the start, I became very sad, very low, very down. And all I could think of was this life that my child's not going to have. And I got really depressed. One day I was in the CRC at a physio appointment, and there was a poster on the wall, and it was power chair football. So I took a screenshot, kept it with me. I thought Kyle had to be like a full-time wheelchair user to play the sport. I didn't know too much about it. He used to play GAA, he played soccer, he's soccer mad, big Liverpool fan. And I just gave the number a call, and it was Donal over there that picked up the phone, and he said, I gave information about Kyle, he said he'd pass his details on, and his details were passed on to our coach, Nolan, in Blanchardstown. So I said to Kyle, we're going to go over and we're going to try this wheelchair football. And we went over, and he was in the car with me, and he was only 10 at the time, and he says, Mom, I have this weird feeling in my tummy. I don't know what it is. And I said, it's nerves. And I says, and I looked at him and I said to him, I'm telling you, Kyle, this is going to be the best day of your life. This is where our life changes and it flips, and we're going to have the best life. And we went over, he seen the soccer chair, he was all wanting to get in, wanting to have a go. I, on the other hand, was like, we are not coming back here, because the chairs go so fast. I was like, no way, we're not coming back. But he did. He went back and he went back, and we're 3 years playing soccer. He's on the development squad for the Ireland team. He has 3 caps. And not only, so physically, because of the Duchenne, his body has slowed down, and he you know, his muscles, he's not able to use his arms and legs. But mentally, he's still that boy that loves football and wants to engage with people, and he wants to compete. And you can see it with the lads and the girls when they're competing, it's there. And what got to me afterwards, it's the friendships. It's the laughter, it's the fun, it's the banter, it was watching them all connecting, and that's what brought tears to my eyes. And from Power Soccer, then we made friendships with young lads. We now go on holidays together. We go to concerts together. We go out for meals. We go bowling. So 8 years on from my diagnosis, from being that person that was very sad and thinking my child's world was over in a sense, I can sit here now and say all them worries and fears I had nothing to worry about, because I'm very contented with the life we've made for Kyle and the life that Kyle has and the friendships he's gotten from this. And physically his body is tired, but mentally he has that strength to keep going. And I think for all the young men, young women that have the neuromuscular conditions, to feel very lonely and very isolated, to find that group, that club, that gives you that drive, that gives you that get up and go. Once you're mentally strong, that's what's going to keep you going. And I'm very grateful to the Irish Power Soccer, and Patrick is a big inspiration for us and even all the older guys and girls, and independent living and seeing them with partners. Kyle looks up to that now and is like, that's the life I can have, and that's the life I want. And when you talked about the independent living, that's where we really need to change, because that's the future that I have, and that's the future that I want for my son. And I hope that we will eventually get to that. So,
Hopefully.
yeah. So, yeah.
Thanks, Sara. Yeah, and I can, suppose on a personal level, echo and relate everything that was said there from everybody. And I know, I'm going to speak my own experience for a minute. I know my first ever engagement, I think, with MDI was a conference like this in 2000, which was 25 years ago. I can't believe I'm saying that. And one of my first big disappointments about MDI was hearing about this organization from I think it was a nurse or a clinical specialist from the UK, and just in how she pronounced MDI, she said Muscular Dystrophy Ireland, and I was convinced at the time there was an island, a place that we'd all go together and we'd all. I don't know if we'd live like Neverland or whatever, but this idea of there being a community, of there being a place to go, and while it wasn't exactly that, we do have a home from home, and we do have the organization that's been through lots of ups and downs, but like 25 years on, it's great to be here and seeing the same experience, hopefully, that I had and enjoyed, that's going to be there for others, that has been here for others, and will be for many of you going forward. So the connections that we build is a huge part of that. I'll just back to the panel, or to our speakers, if there's anything else that anyone would like to add or comment on from what we've shared so far.
Nothing else.
I just, when I was listening to you speak, I think the big takeaway for me is, we can focus so much on the life that we may not have, rather than, let's focus on the life we do have or can have.
Yeah. I think it's just once we flip our mind, isn't it? Because we think we're all born and we all think, the general, we're going to grow up, go to college, get married, have kids, and that's our life. But it's very different for everybody. And when we realize, we're going to live our life a very different way, but we're going to have a lot of fun while we're doing it.
Still and that's what I say to very fulfilling life.
Yeah, that's what I say to Kyle every morning. Our life is very different, but it's our life, and as long as we have fun, that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know, do you want to say if there's any questions from anybody here, or do we have time? Oh, we're just going to keep it to the stage here. That's fine. And maybe we'll go across the pond to Jeff. I don't know if there's anything, Jeff, you've like to reflect on from what you've heard this morning, or anything to...
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it is really important to folks that are there, and I really do wish that I could be there with you in person. But I take a moment and look around the room. To this little MD island that has been created at Croke Park. Look at the folks that are there with you today. This is a special thing. I don't know that we're always given the opportunity to be in a room in which we are the majority, in which everybody in the room has a connection, has had experiences similar to yours, that have similar dreams and desires that you have. This is a really unique opportunity. And so I think it is very important. Make some friends, talk to people at other tables, form some more of those networks, because those are the things that are going to keep us not just safe, but are going to allow us to thrive as we grow older. So make some connections. And by all means, if you would like to come to Canada, we'd be happy to storm the White House together. I know a real good path to DC. So let me know. Let me know when, and we'll roll on the Capitol.
Well, there's I don't know if you're a big sports fan or not, but we have a World Cup in Canada, America, and Mexico next year, and I think an outside but a realistic chance that Ireland may be making an appearance. So you might get a visit or a call from a few of us. We might be making a trip over sometime in the summer of 2026.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're not too far from Toronto, so if anybody wants to crash at my place, let me know.
I'll be there. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
And back to our panel here again. Is there anything else from the folks, or we can wrap up and we'll move on to the next piece? With that, I think I'll just say thank you to everyone, to Jeff, Tom, Sara, Andrew, Dave, everybody here. Thanks a million for your time, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon of the day.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.